want to welcome you to this study in the book of Galatians. Today we're in Galatians, the 5th chapter, and we're going to start with verse number 11. In verse number 11, the Apostle Paul turns back. He's been talking about the Galatians, and then he talked about those that were causing the Galatians to be impeded in their spiritual development by teaching error. And now he's turning back to himself. And he's going to talk about himself in these next two verses. And this is what he says. Galatians 5, verse 11. But I, brethren, if I still preach circumcision, why am I still persecuted? Then the stumbling block of the cross has been abolished. What's the Apostle Paul saying? Well, basically, the Apostle Paul is addressing the brethren. He's addressing these Galatians as if they are part of the family of God. By the way, their error did not eliminate them from being believers and from being part of the family of God. The error was impeding their spiritual growth. I hope that you understand that. But Paul says, but I, brethren, if I still preach circumcision. In other words, the Apostle Paul is saying, all I need to do is go back and preach that you need to be circumcised. And you know what will happen? Persecution will stop. Well, that was partly true, and it was true to this period because almost all of the persecution that was going on of the church was coming from the Jewish people. And so the Apostle Paul says, you know what, I've suffered a whole lot. And all I have to do is give into this persuasion that you need to abide by the law in order to be justified before God. All I need to do is stop telling people you don't need to be circumcised. Stop telling the Gentiles you don't need to be circumcised. That's all I need to do, and you know what's going to happen? Persecution's going to go away. It's just going to go away. I won't be persecuted anymore. But then he goes on in the next part of verse number 11. Then the stumbling block of the cross has been abolished. What's he saying? He's saying that the cross, the power of the cross, what happened at the cross will be abolished. What a tragedy that would be. What a tragedy that would be if Paul would go back and he would say, you know what? Circumcision, you've got to be circumcised in order to be justified before God. What a tragedy. Because it would abolish, it would put an end to, it would destroy the cross. You see, the Apostle Paul is committed to teaching this one thing, the cross of Jesus Christ. That on the cross, his shed blood was shed for the remission of sins. That all we need to do is believe in him, put our trust in and rely upon him, and we'll be saved. And Paul said, you know what, if I start teaching circumcision, in other words, if I get into the error that some of you are into, this error of legalism, of having to do things in order to be saved, if I get into that error, and you know what? I'm abolishing the cross. I'm saying that the cross, it's not effective anymore. The Apostle Paul talks here and he says the stumbling block of the cross. You know what was happening? The cross was what was causing people to stumble. The cross was the thing that they didn't like because the cross represented complete redemption from sin. And they didn't like that part. And they were thinking, we've got to do this and this and this, and then we'll be free. And the Apostle Paul says, you know what? If I go back to teaching circumcision, what I'm going to do is I'm going to abolish the cross. What a tragedy that would have been. Now going on to verse number 12. I wish that those who are troubling you would even mutilate themselves. You know, let me just say something here. There's people that say, well, you just need to be nice. You just need to be nice, 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 nice all the time. Just be nice. Just be nice. Yeah, people are dying and going to hell, but just be nice. People are causing other believers to impede their spiritual progress, but just be nice. Let me tell you something. The Apostle Paul was not nice when he made this statement in verse number 12. It is not a nice statement. What did Paul say? He says, I wish that those who are troubling you. Paul's saying, you know what? This is what I would really like to see happen. That those who are causing you all this trouble, that those who are causing you to be impeded in your spiritual development, he says, I wish that those who are troubling you would even mutilate themselves. Cut themselves. This word mutilate actually means to cut. It's actually, I believe he's giving a reference not to some kind of emasculation of these people, but going back and bringing this into the circumcision, because it's the same word that they use for circumcision, to cut. Just go ahead and do what you want to do. Not being a cutter and cutting themselves up, but just go ahead and do what you want to do. It's not going to do you any good. That's what the Apostle Paul's saying. You know what? There's coming a time in all of our lives where we need to look at people who are bringing us error, and we just need to say, go ahead. I'm leaving you. I am not obeying you. I am not listening to you. Just go ahead and mutilate. Impede your own spiritual progress. I hope that you understand this today. God bless you. Join us again tomorrow as we continue our study in the book of Galatians.